Hey everybody, it is time for this week's Market Snapshot. What has happened in the Northern Virginia real estate market in the last 7 days in under 5 minutes? Here we go. Okay, so we are diving into the ups and downs of the Northern Virginia real estate market. It is truly a roller coaster ride. Week by week, it's changing, but if you look at the overall trend, it's becoming pretty clear about where we're sitting right now. Well, let's just dive into the numbers, and then I'll give you my interpretation later. So if you go into the graphs here, you can see that the black line, as always, is our buyer activity, and it's been trending in a decreasing direction over the last several weeks, but the last 2 weeks it started increasing again. The general trend is still decreasing, but again, we have to watch this because the last 2 weeks things have started picking up, and we're starting to feel that in the market. As far as the teal line, that's going to be the inventory. So these are the properties that recently came on the market. So buyer activity is the properties that went under contract in the last 7 days. Inventory is the new properties that came onto the market or properties that came back to the market. So that you can see the inventory has been up and down as well, significant swings up and down. This week right here was July 4th week, so that's just an aberration. But in general, inventory is kind of in a neutral flat plane, and buyer activity is starting to increase. So what we've been seeing with regards to buyer's market versus seller's market is we can see that we've been dipping in and out of the buyer's market / seller's market. So in general down here, we're hanging out around a pretty neutral market. So that's really kind of good for buyers and sellers as well, because it's still a strong market for sellers, but for buyers, it's a much more fair market. So we have some contract trends that we can look at to see what's been going on. So we're going to focus just on the Virginia contract trends here. And this is based on 186 contracts received by Cardinal Title in this last 7 days. So this tells us really it's a good sampling of what's been going on in the market. So you can see that the contract price, 35% of properties in Virginia are still going above asking price. 36 are sitting right around the list price, and 29% are going below. This 29% going below, typically right now in this market, that does not mean that property values are dropping. It just means that those listings were priced too high, and the sellers had to come down because of market forces. Days on market, you can see that 42% of the properties are still going under contract within 7 days. And the likelihood, this 35% of properties going above ask, is in this 42% range. We've got about 26% of properties that are leaving the market within 3 weeks, and 32% are sitting longer. And if you match up the 32% with the lower than sales price, that's because a property that sits for more than 22 days is likely going to go under asking price. And again, that's because that property is usually overpriced in the first place. So this is where it gets really interesting, and this is where it is more favorable for buyers. So in the past 2 years, buyers have been having to compete heavily and give up all of their protections in the contract. Well, this last 7 days, 70% of buyers got finance contingencies in Virginia. Appraisal contingencies, 36% of buyers got, 64% of buyers got the appraisal contingency. And here's the key: home inspections. Home inspections, 56% of the buyers got home inspections. This home inspection is starting to slowly tick up. And what's really interesting is even the ones who didn't get the home inspection, there's 44% of the buyers that did not get the home inspection, they likely were still able to do a pre-offer inspection because sellers have been really open to that. So even in a competitive situation, buyers have had the opportunity to go in and have a property inspected before putting the offer in, so that they felt comfortable and safe with what they were getting. It's not in all situations, but it's happening. So basically what this means is we're in a little bit more of a neutral market, which means that buyers are not competing against 5 to 10 other buyers on every single property. And so they're able to get these contingencies into the contract. We've even seen multiple offer situations where contingencies were obtained by the buyer because all of the contracts had them in there. So they were competing with like contracts. That does not mean that there won't be a situation if you're a buyer where you may have to waive that finance or that appraisal contingency, that finance contingency, that inspection contingency. If that comes up, just look at the ways that you can still protect yourself, because you can still protect yourself outside of the contract before going into the contract. Things like a POFA, things like a pre-offer inspection, items like that. So be sure to talk to your agent about that. Sellers, it is very, very important that when you list your property, that you're listing it at the correct price and you're listing it for the correct price for its condition. Don't look at properties that sold 6 months ago and how they got 15 offers and yours is the prettiest on the block, so you should be able to get 15% above what they got. Look at what the comps are, price your property appropriately. If the market forces are there for it to get bid up, which it is in properly priced properties, you will get that top market value. So it's a good market for buyers and sellers right now. We don't know how long this is going to last. We're starting to see that buyer activity tick up, and we're still seeing inventory stay flat. So we may be moving back into a seller's market here as we go into the late summer, early fall. But just keep watching each week. All right. If you're a buyer and you would like us to sit down with you and talk about your situation individually, we'd be more than happy to do that. If you're a seller, same thing. We'd be happy to come over, walk through the house, let you know what improvements you should make to get the property prepared properly, and then we can talk about what you might be able to put it on the market for. All right, I hope everybody has a great week out there. Give us a call at 703-783-2143 if you need anything from us or would like one of those buyer or seller consultations, and we'll see you guys next week.